Once upon a time, many years ago, the year was 1895. Oakenhaven was a quiet fairy tale like small town. There, at the corner of a lonely alley, was Julian's clock shop. Just as Julian looked calm, his life was equally tranquil. Throughout the day, he remained immersed in a strange loneliness amidst the tickling sound of old clocks. He felt as if he were waiting for someone, but for whom he didn't know himself. One late night while working, Julian was trying to repair an ancient locket. The locket was no ordinary ornament. As soon as he turned a delicate needle inside the locket, the entire room lit up in a blue glow. With the whistling sound of the wind, the time seemed to stand still, and from the midst of that flash of life, a mysterious young woman collapsed onto the floor. Her name was Clara. She wore a dress made of silver fiber that would be impossible for any weaver in Julian's known world to make. In Clara's eye was the flame of the year 2150, and on her body was a layer of radioactive dust. Clara lay on the floor panting, a kind of bluish smoke emanating from her hand. As Julian took a step forward, Clara screamed, "Don't touch! My body is still vibrating at the frequency of time. Touching me might erase your existence." Exactly 10 minutes after Clara's arrival, a strange cloud began to gather in the sky outside. Lightning was striking, but there was no sound. Julian saw through the window that the street lamppost was bending on their own. Clara whispered, "They have found me. They're timekeepers. Those who feel the crack of eternity leave no living witnesses." Julian hid Clara in the secret underground cellar of his shop. There, in the light of an oil lamp, Clara revealed her identity. Julian said, "You are safe here. No one in Oakenhaven knows about this old warehouse. But who are you? And what was that stained blue light outside?" The girl emitted a blue light from a small device in her hand and said, "My name is Clara. I come from a time where the sky is not blue, but grey like this ash. The ocean have become desert." Julian looked at the hologram in wonder and said, "The year 2150? Is this magic or an illusion?" Clara said, "No, it is reality. I am an astronaut. Our world is now on the brink of destruction. I have come here in search of a lost mathematical formula from 1895. Without it, there is no hope for the people of my town." Julian said, "But why come to an ordinary clockmaker like me? I only repair time. I don't know how to change it." Clara said, "You might have unknowingly hidden that formula inside one of your clocks. That blue light came specially to find you. Our time is very short." For 3 days, they remained confined in that cellar. Julian fed her his stored cheese and bread. Clara was surprised to see Julian's rough, hard-working hands and the deep kindness in his eye. She said, "In my era, people have forgotten how to love like this. There, everyone only fights for survival." While Clara was trying to activate her device in the dark cellar of Julian's shop, Julian suddenly remembered an old diary left by his father. The diary was now preserved in a sacred vault of the city's central library. Outside, the blue shadow of the timekeepers were wandering. Whenever they passed in front of a house, the time in that house stood still. Birds stopped flying and clock hands turned backward. Julian disguised Clara with an old overcoat and a hat. They headed toward the library through the back alleys. The inside of the library was silent. Clara began scanning the surroundings with her device. Suddenly, a handwritten old book hidden behind a shelf began to glow. That was the mathematical formula. But as soon as the formula was found, all the massive clocks in the library chimed at once. The library walls began to crack like glass. A timekeeper stood at the library door. It has no face, only a mechanical form made of clock gears. Julian risked his life to shield Clara. He tried to distract the timekeeper with a broken small clock from his pocket. As the timekeeper moved toward Julian with a mechanical sound, an incredible event occurred. Just as the blue beam from the timekeeper's body was about to touch Julian, he threw the broken clock forcefully at the library's massive chandelier. With a loud crash, the chandelier fell upon the timekeepers. Taking that chance, Julian took Clara and climbed up the dark black stair to the roof. But while climbing, a blue beam hit Julian's leg. Instantly, his leg became heavy as stone and useless. The rooftop of the library was bathed in silver moonlight. Below, the entire city was silent. Clara saw that Julian could no longer walk. She burst into tears. Julian smiled faintly and said, "Clara, activate the formula in your hand now. Oaken's heaven time is running out." There was a ghostly silence on the roof. The timekeepers had come very close. Clara, trembling, placed the ancient book on the locket, but nothing happened. The locket only glowed once faintly and went out again. Clara cried out, "It's not working, Julian. It's not working. A key is missing from this formula. It is only a map, but we need a key to reach the destination." Clara checked her device. An ancient signal was flashing repeatedly. She looked at Julian in shock. As the timekeeper's mechanical hand gripped the roof's cornice, Julian took Clara and climbed down the old chimney. In the drain behind the library, fog had gathered. Julian unhitched a wooden freight car and galloped the horse toward the deep forest road with Clara. Behind them, the blue beams of the timekeepers were turning the trees of the dark forest into steel. But they temporarily lost their way due to the fog. Far from the town, on the slope of a hill, Julian had an abandoned family cottage. There were no mechanical clocks there, only sunlight and hourglasses to measure time. The timekeeper's radar doesn't easily reach this place. Inside the cottage, lighting an old lamp, Julian brought dry clothes and warm milk for Clara. Outside, a gentle drizzle began, the soothing sound of that 1895 rain. Julian took Clara to the cottage window. He pointed towards the distant valley. "Clara, look. See those fireflies glowing in the hills? They are not machines, they are life. In our world, time means the blooming of flower, the falling of leaves, and the fragrance of the soil. Here we make clocks, but we are not the shapes of the clock." He showed Clara a hand-carved wooden horse his father had given him. Clara felt the roughness of the wood in wonder. In her era, everything was synthetic and cold. Sitting by the fire, Clara projected a picture of the sky on her small device. "Julian, in my world, we don't get the scent of the soil. Our homes are made of glass and steel. There is no such thing as a break in our life. In our addiction to utilizing every second, we have lost the moments themselves. I never knew that the sound of rain would bring tears to one's eyes." Clara looked at Julian. In her eyes then, there was more of the shadow of an ordinary woman than that of a spirited scientist of 2050. Clara told Julian about the loneliness of her life, how she grew up only as part of a mission, how she had no friend or family. Julian told her the story of the loneliness of his cloak shop. Despite being people of two different centuries, they felt they were very tied by the same thread. The warmth of the fire inside the cottage and the sound of the rain outside created a magical environment. That night was a piece of heaven outside of time for them. Before setting out in search of the lost key or fuel, Julian wanted Clara to experience the joys of the flesh and blood of this world. The next morning, the sun peeped through the mist-soaked forest. Julian took Clara to a blue lotus pond at the base of the hill. Clara had never seen a natural water body. Julian dipped his hand into the clear water and splashed a handful of water onto Clara's face. Clara was startled at first, but immediately burst into laughter. That laughter seemed to wash away all the mechanical sorrow of 2050. To gather wildflowers, Julian made a grass ring and put it on Clara's finger. Clara said in wonder, "Julian, we have diamonds there, but not this scant of grass." They decided to go to Julian's grandfather's old library to find that key, which was located in an old lighthouse at the edge of the forest. On the way, Julian gave Clara a ride on his bicycle. Clara gripped Julian's waist tightly, her hair flying in the wind. Julian said laughingly, "Hold on tight, Clara. The roads of 1895 are not as smooth as your portal." Clara pressed him tightly. Reaching the very top of the old lighthouse, they found a dust-covered chest. Inside was a solar preview lens made by Julian's grandfather. Clara realized that this was the missing key that could concentrate the fast press of the sign to activate the bow. After finishing the work, they stood on the hanging balcony of the lighthouse. Below, waves of turbulent sea were crashing. The sky had turned as colorful as Clara's shimmering city in the colors of the sunset. Clara looked into the Julian's eyes. In Julian's eyes, there was no busyness of a clockmaker, but a deep trust. Julian leaned against the balcony railing. Looking at the turbulent sea, he said softly, "You know, Clara, my grandfather used to say this lighthouse was built for those who have lost their way. All my life, I have stood here counting the lights of the ship, but I never thought this light would lead me to someone who is a traveler from another time." Clara left the lens aside and stood next to Julian. She didn't look at the sea, but rather at Julian's rough, oil-stained hand. In 2150, no one has such marks of labor in their hand. All hands are smooth and lifeless. Julian took an old handkerchief from his coat and wiped away a bit of dust from Clara's forehead. His finger remained still on Clara's forehead for a very short period of time. Julian said, "After you leave tomorrow, when the sun rises, I will light the lamp of this lighthouse every day. People will think I am looking for the path of ships, but I know I will only be looking towards the sky of your return." At that very moment, without any sound, a star fell. Clara whispered, "In my time, we don't see falling stars, Julian, because the sky is covered in smoke there. Today, I saw my first falling star standing beside you." Julian held Clara's hand a little tighter. No big words were spoken. Only the two of them together looked toward the sea that was turning dark. They both knew they would have to separate tomorrow when the sun rose. But for this one moment, time had truly stood still. On the way back from the lighthouse, they stood in an open space in the forest. Thousands of fireflies were glowing there. Julian took out a small music box from his pocket. It was his own creation. As soon as he turned the key, a magical tune began to play. Julian held his hand out. "Clara, in your era, perhaps big dance festival happened. But have you ever danced among the fireflies on the grass?" Clara smiled shyly, then took Julian's hand. It was not professional dancing, but rather they began to sway very slowly, feeling each other. Clara's silver dress and Julian's old coat blended into a strange beauty. Julian taught Clara how to make tea on a clay stove, and Clara showed him pictures of wonderful constellations from the future on her useless smartphone. Gradually, a new bird of love bloomed inside Julian's old, lonely shop. Clara's heart-opening laughter and Julian's gentle care, all together the dark road of Oakenhaven and the twilight sky seemed warped in a bond of illusion. But happiness is not permanent. Due to Clara's presence, cracks of time began to appear in the air and sky of Oakenhaven. Flowers in the garden began to bloom and wither in the blink of an eye, or sometimes the middle sky suddenly became midnight. Clara realized that if she stayed here, Oakenhaven's existence would be erased. Her own time was calling her. The locket was a medium for a one-way journey, which was now almost broken. Just before the dawnlight broke, the sky of Oakenhaven took a deep, unearthly purple color. The peaceful environment suddenly became toxic. The window panes of the cottage were trembling violently. Julian and Clara quickly rushed toward the lighthouse with their solar lamps and the book. Three massive smoky blue figures rose from the horizon of the sea. They are not human, but rather giant mechanical ghosts made of hundreds of gears and clock hands, timekeepers. With each of their steps, the trees of the forest were instantly turning to stone, and birds were freezing like living statues in mid-air. They made no sound, but the vibration of the air said they were swelling time. Julian began to climb the lighthouse stair with Clara. Behind them, the long shadows of those mechanical monsters were crawling up the stairway walls. Clara was trying to fit the lens into the locket, but her hands were shaking. Julian, they're turning the stair to stone. We are losing the way to go down. Clara cried out. Julian began breaking the stair railing with the large wrench and hammer in his hand to slow down the timekeepers, but the iron was becoming cold as the eyes upon touch. They reached the very top. The massive lens was placed in front, but the sun was still below the horizon. Only 2 more minutes. One of the timekeepers broke through the glass wall of the lighthouse and thrust its hand inside. It had no face to speak of. There was only a massive clock hand turning backward. Clara, fix the lamps. I am holding them back. Julian screamed. He held the massive iron door of the lighthouse shut with all the strength in his body. The timekeeper's blue beam was heading towards Julian's chest. Clara saw the fast red glow of the sun reflecting off the sea. She held the lens directly against the sunlight. As the light through the lens fell upon the book, the entire lighthouse lit up in golden fire. Just as the timekeeper was about to touch Julian, the monster crumbled into dust with a massive shockwave of golden light. The portal opened with a loud sound, right at the top of the lighthouse, like a crack in the heart of space. Clara was floating in the air due to pull of the portal, holding the railing with one hand and gripping Julian's hand tightly with the other. The intense blue light of the portal made the surroundings almost blinding. The gravitational pull of the wind increased several times, as if a massive black hole formed right above the lighthouse. Clara realized her fingers were becoming numb. The iron railing she was holding began to loosen with a loud sound. It would break at any moment. I won't let you go, Julian. There was persistent and extreme terror in Clara's voice. Tears were rolling down her eyes, vanishing into the wind. Just then, mechanical blood-curdling roars of more timekeepers were heard from below the stairs. Their red eyes were rushing upward, piercing through the darkness. Julian realized time was up. If he did not let go now, Clara would also die. The portal had already begun to shrink, spark flying at its edges. Julian looked into Clara's eyes. In those eyes, there was no fear of death, but a strange, deep peace. Our story doesn't end here, Clara, Julian said in a calm voice, which reached Clara's ears clearly even amidst the roar of that catastrophic wind. Julian took that old broken pocket watch from his pocket and thrust it quickly into Clara's hand. Before Clara could understand anything, Julian jerked his other hand free from Clara's grip. No! Clara's heart-wrenching scream was instantly lost in the roar of the portal. As soon as the hand slipped, the powerful gravitational force of the portal pulled Clara into it. Just before entering the swirling light tunnel like a maze, Clara looked down one last time. She saw Julian sinking into the bottomless abysses of darkness with a melancholy smile, and the numerous red eyes and metallic claws rushing from below was swallowing him. As Clara shot out through the blue and dark vortex of the portal, Julian's final words were ringing in her ears. She crashed forcefully onto a cold, smooth metallic floor. Clara lay with her eyes closed for a while. Slowly, she opened her eyes. Above her head was a massive glass dome from which the neon light and rows of floating vehicles of New London of the year 2150 could be seen. Clara noticed three things held tightly in her two hands, which were now the most valuable assets of human civilization. That ancient leather-bound book containing the weaknesses of the timekeepers, the heart-shaped locket, which was actually a data storage where Julian had hidden the necessary codes for the future world, and the golden key, which was the only way to open the vault time. She realized that her adventurous journey was not in vain. By combining these three objects, she has turned the wheel of time back to the right path. The existence of the timekeepers had been erased from this present. The automated doors of the laboratory opened. Council members and scientists rushed inside. They were as surprised to see Clara alive as they were to see those ancient relics in her hand. "You did it, Clara," the council had shouted. "The machines are all fixed. Readings say that timeline is now stable. The world is saved." Waves of joy spread all around, but Clara stood silently by the window. A faint golden glow was emitting from the locket in her hand. She knew that this world was bright and safe today because a selfless man in some darkness of the past had sacrificed his life. Clara put the locket on her neck chain. Before depositing the key and the book in the vault, she turned the last page of the book one last time. There, a new line had been added in small handwriting by Julian. "May the future be beautiful. Clara, keep the watch I gave you. If time and opportunity permit, we shall meet again at the top of some lighthouse." Looking at the artificial rain of that modern city of 2150, Clara smiled faintly. The world was saved, but the memory of Julian and that mysterious lighthouse remained permanent in a corner of her heart. Clara was now not just a survivor, she was now the guardian of history who was brought back her world by tearing through the heart of time. The year 2150, Clara was no longer that young woman. There was a silver glow in her hair, a dark, deep mark of experience in her eyes. She was a legend in the history of the world. But her personal life was very private. She never married anyone. Every evening, she stood at the window of her lab and looked at that old pocket watch. She knew she had saved the world but had left the greatest truth of her life in the past. She had tried many times to restore timetable, but she was forbidden due to the strict rules of the council. On the other hand, Julian had survived the terrible night, but he had become trapped in an endless maze of time. He was now an aged scientist, his body bowed under the weight of age. In a lonely mountain cave, he had built a broken, incomplete time machine. Each of his days was spent only in the sound of calculation and mechanical friction. One night, with trembling hands, Julian pulled the last lever of the machine. His eyes were full of hope. Perhaps this time we would be able to reach 2150. The machine roared, the surroundings filled with blue light, but immediately everything went out with a massive crash. Amidst the smoke and burnt smell, Julian cried out, "One more time, just for 1 minute, let me go to her." But time is cruel. Every time he tried, and every time the machine failed. He had grown old. His strength was fading. He knew that perhaps they would never meet again. In 2150, just a few days before the death of Clara, the elderly Clara took out that old book and locket from her vault. She realized that there was an invisible code on the pages of the book that only activated when matched with the vibration of Julian's pocket watch. With her last bit of strength, she went to the lab and connected the watch to a powerful transmitter. She couldn't send a person, but she could send a signal. Suddenly, in that cave of the past, Julian's broken machine lit up on its own. It was no mechanical glitch, but a melody began to play, the tune they both used to hum while at the lighthouse. Julian realized it was Clara. He entered inside his machine. This time, the machine did not take him physically anywhere, but rather took his consciousness to a strange dimension where there was no past or future, only the present. In the midst of a pure white light, the two of them saw each other. They were no longer old. They were the young Julian and the brave Clara. They were standing at the top of that same lighthouse, but there were no timekeepers there, no fear of war. The sky was filled with thousands of stars. Julian said, "I tried very hard, Clara, but time had blocked me." Clara smiled and held Julian's hand, saying, "Time was able to separate our bodies, Julian, but not this moment of ours. We are now beyond time." They held each other's hands and looked forward the horizon. In the world's calendar, perhaps the both had died, but in some secret corner of the universe, they stand forever at the top of that lighthouse.